Lord Belgrave is back with more direct inside knowledge between Ripple, XRP, and some of the biggest banks in the world. Lord Belgrave claims to be an ex-City London banker with direct ties to Ripple and XRP over the last 10 years. Some of the things that he's highlighted have really stood out to XRP influencers. So let's just jump right in. We're going to better understand what could this mean for XRP holders going forward. Let's set the stage. It was a late afternoon in London, inside a private boardroom overlooking Canary Wharf. Around the table sat senior executives from three of the largest world's financial institutions, along with representatives from Ripple. I was there as one of the directors overseeing cross-border settlement strategy. The discussion was clinical, not speculative. Spreadsheets, cost models, and projected efficiencies were all laid out in front of us. The data was irrefutable. One XRP equals 1 million drops. An average transaction consumes around 10 drops or 0.00001 XRP. As long as those 10 drops remain valued below $1, the cost efficiency is unmatched. Every executive in that room understood what it meant. Profit margins could be widened, client fees reduced, and settlement times reduced from days to seconds. The only challenge left on the table was compliance, KYC, AML, and identity verification frameworks. Once those are fully synchronized with the XRP ledger, it will deliver what every global bank has pursued for decades: instant settlement, institutional transparency, and scalable profitability across borders. That afternoon in London, it was clear to everyone present the future of global payments had already been engineered. And so this account, Pumpius, did a breakdown of this. It says banks are prepared for $100,000 XRP, one XRP, bank price 10 drops, as long as it doesn't go over $1, he said. I think this person's just trying to get clips, but I'm just trying to show you what this would mean. If XRP was over this price, then it would kind of not be as efficient for banks. He's saying that this is pre-programmed. I tend to not agree with what he's saying here, but I just wanted to highlight that because I know some people asked me about that already. Over the years, I've seen NDAs. So this is this was from a few days ago from Lord Belgrave. Over the years, I've seen NDAs, the meetings, the quiet alignments between central banks, major institutions, and Ripple. Sometimes I wonder, has anything really changed? Do those agreements still hold weight? Have any true alternatives emerged? In my view, nothing has changed. Everything is unfolding exactly as outlined behind closed doors. So Lord Belgrave is saying that nothing he sees, new technology-wise, has changed what he's believed over the last 10 years, and he thinks it's moving forward. He also goes on to say in a different tweet about 10 days ago, the groundwork for a significant XRP ETP across the UK and EU has been quietly taking shape. Regulatory frameworks, custody solutions, and institutional access are finally aligning. When this launches, it will unlock an entirely new wave of compliant liquidity. Watch London and Frankfurt. I was like, watch London and Frankfurt. What do you think that means? So I went to Lexi to see what could this mean. London and Frankfurt are highly significant in Ripple and XRP's current institutional adoption phase because they serve as central financial hubs in Europe that are leading efforts to launch major XRP investment products, specifically exchange-traded products like we see right here in the US, ETFs. These are the same thing, ETPs, and potentially ETFs. Regulatory clarity in the UK and EU combined with robust financial infrastructure in these regions is supporting the groundwork for large-scale compliant XRP-based investment vehicles. London, Ripple's strategic base. Ripple is expanding its direct presence in London with plans for a major new office right in the city's core banking district to work more closely with banks, regulators, and financial firms on projects involving tokenization and digital asset payments. London's regulatory environment is increasingly friendly to digital assets, and Ripple participates actively in policy conversations aiming to align its offerings, including XRP liquidity products, within these evolving rules. The city is central for institutions looking to access compliant digital asset products, with new ETPs likely to be listed first on London Stock Exchange. Now let's get into Frankfurt here. Frankfurt, as Germany's financial capital, is another prime location for launching institutional-grade XRP products. Several ETPs and crypto investment products are listed on Frankfurt's Xterra exchange. The presence of major investment firms and regulatory bodies there allows for secure custody and liquidity solutions needed for institutional adoption. Partnerships and collaborations between Ripple and their firms in Frankfurt, including work with digital asset alliances and investment companies, have helped promote XRP technology and compliant liquidity in the EU. So those are the connections Lord Belgrave was speaking about here. Lord Belgrave said earlier this month that after years in global banking, I learned that real change doesn't announce itself. It integrates silently. Ripple's technology has already touched the same infrastructure that powers Visa Direct, MasterCard Send, and American Express FX international payments. These are the test beds. Visa, MasterCard, American Express are quietly experimenting with Ripple's technology. The future of settlement is moving from messaging to value transfer. He also goes on to say earlier in October, it's becoming increasingly clear that XRP's presence on major centralized exchanges may be more of a constraint than a catalyst when an asset built for institutional liquidity is trapped in retail-driven speculative venues. Price discovery becomes distorted. True value won't emerge until XRP operates primarily within the rails it was designed for, i.e. institutional settlement, cross-border flow, and on-ledger utility, not exchange order book. I thought that was really well said. In banking and finance, there are no coincidences. Governments and media craft the narrative only after the plan has been executed with precision. Then they package it to divide, distract, and steer you through emotion and psychology. All right, so let's talk about some of those institutional use cases. One of those is derivatives. We know that this market is slowly starting to build, but when it truly takes over, it will be game-changing.
If you're interested in blockchain and you want to make money, forget about sending money back to your uncle in France. This is where you should be thinking. This is the size of the entire economy of the world right here, GDP. This is the notional principle of all derivatives, okay? These are all forwards, futures, and options, and these are all...
Really quickly, stock markets, total loans, unsecured loans, bond market, financial household wealth, total debt, forwards, futures, and options, total household wealth, all assets, all derivatives, swaps, and then all derivatives. So just pales in comparison.
Derivatives except interest rate swaps. This right here, interest rate swaps. Biggest universe that most of you have never heard of. Millions of lawyers, millions of traders, millions of accounts. All that can be put on the blockchain, okay? And all this clearing system and settlement system, which we took, Dodd-Frank is like this thick. This much of it has to do with clearing and settling of swaps. Okay, it's a nightmare, it's a mess, and we can take this whole system and simplify it with distributed ledgers. Okay, I want to talk about...
All right, and then Rob Cunningham also had a great video here. Let me go ahead and play this for you.
World, the old order is unraveling. Decades of opaque systems built on debt and deception are being replaced by transparent ledgers and immutable truth. Humanity is awakening to a new financial covenant where trust is verified and transparency is the law of the land. Born in the heart of Texas, soon to be the crypto capital of the world, company on NASDAQ, aligned with ISO 20022 and Basel III transparency standards. Its mission, to become the world's first public-private XRP Treasury liquidity hub, anchoring the new economy in honesty, accountability, and verifiable math. Evernorth bridges two worlds: retail markets where XRP circulates freely, and Ripple's institutional escrows where XRP is programmatically released. The separate streams converge into Evernorth's central treasury pool, visualized as a pulsing, living organism with a heartbeat rhythm. The merged liquidity flows create organic patterns that pulse with life, representing a living, breathing liquidity organism. Through transparent contracts and automated governance, these flows unite into a living, breathing liquidity hub and the heartbeat of honest value exchange. Over the next decade, Evernorth will likely evolve from a transparent market participant into a mathematically governed global treasury, a public-private steward of liquidity built upon the immutable laws of creation, truth, order, and balance. Many in the XRP army understand the Shane Ellis theory that true value ignition begins when real-world liquidity overwhelms available XRP float. As XRP is absorbed from retail and institutional reserves activate, order books thin, and XRP price finds its new equilibrium, not through hype, but through utility. You, the XRP army, are the decentralized teacher nodes of this awakening. You translate complex systems into simple truth. You build bridges of understanding that guide humanity from confusion to clarity. Your discernment and courage are the curriculum of this new era. Together, we are building the world's first transparent treasury guided not by greed, but by divine law. This is Evernorth. This is the new monetary covenant, trustless, transparent, and true.
I thought that was a really good clip, man. All right, and then you talk about trillions into quadrillions. How much value can be tokenized? There's all of these different areas that Ripple and the XRP ledger are attacking right now. One of the biggest areas, of course, is tokenization. Estimated growth in tokenization to 2033 could be over 20 to 30 trillion dollars. It could be a lot more depending on how quickly we can update laws and jurisdictions and write rules so all of this value can move seamlessly across borders. But here you go: funds, fixed income, equities, real estate, other alternative investments, real-world assets, deposits, stablecoins, lending and credit, treasury and liquidity, derivatives and alternative investments, hedge funds, and other use cases. So how quickly will this all take place, guys? We will see. And then, of course, David Schwartz says, I think institutional adoption is needed to pave the way for the next wave of retail adoption. If DeFi is going to replace TradFi or TradeFi, it's going to have to do all of the boring things TradeFi does, as institutional adoption seems the most likely way to make that all possible. All right. And then, of course, Ripple solving those solutions at scale. Internet of value, baby.
Decade, Ripple has worked to bridge the gap between blockchain and traditional finance. We've built enterprise-grade digital asset infrastructure, trusted by the world's largest banks. From instant global payouts and access to off-ramps, to secure digital asset custody solutions, to the stablecoin created with trust and compliance at its core, Ripple enables enterprises around the world to tokenize, store, exchange, and move value. We're not waiting for the future of finance to arrive. We're building the Internet of Value today.
Let's end there. We're building the Internet of Value today. I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you did, you can support the video, like, share, leave a comment down below. Just have a great weekend, and thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.